What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the second Cronkite Sports Live episode of the season. That's a familiar face to my right, Spencer Hardenbergh, but me, I'm making my debut. My name is Andre Sims. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, welcome to the Anchor Desk, Andre. It's where you belong. Now, a little disclaimer, I won't be here all the time. I'm just filling in for Drew Andre this week, so I hope that you enjoy my presence while you have it, my friend.
Absolutely.
Now, you know who isn't going anywhere anytime soon?
Who's that?
ASU Gymnastics. The Gym Devils are number 12 in the country right now, and if I were a betting man, I'd say they are there to stay. For more on that story, here is WCSN's Tyler Mannion.
On Sunday, the number 14 Arizona State Gym Devils took on the number 29 Cal Bears in their Pac-12 home opener. ASU started the day strong, posting its highest vault score of the season with 4 career highs. The momentum continued into the second rotation as ASU earned a 49.325 on the uneven bars by posting 5 varying season and career bests. Even with 2 gymnasts putting up slightly lower than usual scores on the beam, Ashley Zafransky and Nichelle Christofferson executed 2 strong routines to keep the lead. In the final rotation, 5 gymnasts set or tied their career highs. The team's 49.25 total closed the door on any hopes the Bears still had of winning. The highlight of the meet was a star-studded matchup of ASU freshman Kyle Leonard Baker and Cal senior Tony Ann Williams. The Cal Bears star took home 2 event titles. On the floor exercise, Williams' powerful tumbling and attitude-filled routine landed the senior a near-perfect 9.975. The ASU freshman boasted a career-high 9.95 on the uneven bars to win the event. Her high-flying releases and stuck full in dismount propelled the Gym Devils to a season high on the apparatus. The gymnasts were neck and neck throughout the meet, but when all was said and done, the 2 tied for first in the all-around with a score of 39.575.
Honestly, it feels like really good to do it, especially with this team, because I love everybody so much, and it's nice because knowing that everyone has your back and everyone's there, and our team's doing really well too, and it's nice to know that I'm a part of that.
With Leonard Baker at the helm, ASU posted their highest team score since 2006. Its 196.8 victory over Cal gave them their second conference win going into Saturday's meet in Corvallis. From Wells Fargo Arena, Tyler Mannion, Cronkite Sports.
The Gym Devils continue to have one of the best programs in the seasons in the last decade. Having just moved up to number 12 in the country, the Gym Devils have been ranked in the top 15 for the last 4 weeks. Up next, the team travels to Corvallis to take on the number 13 Oregon State Beavers, and this head-to-head matchup will determine third place in the Pac-12.
To say ASU men's basketball has been struggling this year would be an understatement. Now, to break down some of that for us, we welcome in Chris Gleason, WCSN men's basketball reporter. Thank you for being here, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so as I said, they're struggling. What in the world's been going on with this team lately?
Well, Spencer, it's pretty simple. They're taking the same types of shots they were during non-conference play. They're just not going in. You look at their points per game, their field goal percentage has clearly dropped off, each by about 8 from non-conference play to conference play. Even that assist-to-turnover ratio has taken a hit since non-conference play. So for them, it's just about being a little bit more efficient with passing the ball, and they just got to keep taking those shots, and they got to start dropping for them because there's been a big drop in scoring.
There has been. We got to remember, this was a team that was scoring almost 100 points a game at the beginning of the season. They had 27 in the first half last night against Washington. Now, who do you see stepping up if they are going to lift up that scoring?
Well, I think it comes down to their big men, forwards Daquan Lake, Romello White, and Kamani Lawrence. These guys played a lot better in the non-conference portion of the schedule than the conference part. We've seen guys who have not made names for themselves against any other team have great games against Arizona State. Stanford's Josh Sharma, Noah Dickerson last night. So these guys have to play better. Romello White was scoring regularly in double digits in non-conference play. He's only had 1 game in the Pac-12 play over 10 points. Daquan Lake has fouled out 3 times in conference play. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. And Kamani Lawrence is supposed to be a top 60 recruit in this year's class. He has not been an impact player since coming back from that foot injury at the end of December.
Certainly not. Now, a little silver lining for the Sun Devils here is 5 of their last 7 games will be at home in Tempe. How do you see those games playing out?
Well, I think that bodes well for the Sun Devils. They've done very well at Wells Fargo Arena this season, but their level of competition is going to get even harder. After coming home from Washington State Sunday, they host the Southern Cal teams, USC, then UCLA. I don't see them beating USC. That's a team that's won 8 of their last 9 games, but I think they can beat UCLA. They have a thing, it seems, for losing the first and winning the second games of their weekend series anyway, so I think that's pretty easy to believe. And then that big one that we've had circled for a while, Arizona coming to Tempe. That is a huge game. That team started their downfall back in December, so I think the Sun Devils will be out for revenge in that one, and if they can win 2 of their next 3, I give them a great shot to upset the Wildcats.
We'll see if ASU can get a little bit of that swagger back before March. Thank you for the insight, Chris. Now, we're not going to stop hooping, but let's talk about the other team. The women's basketball team has hit a bit of a rough patch recently, losing 4 of their last 6 games. However, last game was a good bounce back for them as they beat up on a ranked Cal team, holding them to just 42 points all game. A win tonight versus Washington would definitely help the ladies get back on the right track. For more on them, here's Mason Kern, Alex Gall, and Andrew Bell.
Thanks, guys. Here at Wells Fargo Arena, where ASU women's basketball prepares to face the Washington schools this weekend. Alex Gall, Andrew Bell, and Mason Kern here with you for Cronkite Sports. Andrew, I want to start with you. ASU, they play Stanford last weekend. They get blown out of the gym, get destroyed, and then they come back on Sunday and get a great victory versus then 23-ranked California. What were your general observations from the weekend? Do you think this bodes well for the team going forward?
Well, my general observation first of all, from that Friday game at Stanford, is just one of those games where Stanford was looking for revenge from the get-go. ASU is a young team coming in on the road in a hostile environment, and Stanford jumped on them early, never looked back, and that's to Tara Vanderveer's credit. She had her team ready from the start. For ASU, I think that was one of those games where you just throw away on the road, and to their credit, they had a team meeting on Saturday, come back, regroup, go make the short trip up to the East Bay, and then dominate a 23rd-ranked Cal team at that time. Cal ranked 25 now. They go up and dominate that game on Sunday, and with a young team like that to bounce back and respond in that way, I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and definitely. We talk about some of the key performers on this team. Mason, we all know that Kiana Ivis has been the MVP for this team all season long. But since Pac-12 plays have started, there's been some other key performers. Who do you think they've been this season?
Well, you mentioned Ivis. Obviously, she's been the team's MVP in terms of scoring and really all around the floor, averaging 13 points per game. Earlier in the season, before she went down, Sabrina Haynes also averaging double digits. So that was kind of a big loss. She's a very vocal leader for this team. But now I look to Jamie Rudin, the sophomore, and then the junior Courtney Ekmark, who is the transfer from UConn. And both of these players are very dynamic. Both great shooters. Jamie Rudin also is pretty dominant in the post, and they've been able to provide ASU with a lot of scoring. Rudin's averaging 10, and then Ekmark's averaging 9.5, so she's almost at that cusp. But both these players do a lot on the court, but in terms of the mentality off the court as well, those are 2 big performers. And I think that if they continue to provide to this team what they've done so far, I think this team's going to be very dangerous in the future.
Yeah, and ASU, they fell out of the rankings this week, out of the top 25. I'll pose this next one to both of you. Do you think they should still be ranked? And what do you guys think the outcome is this weekend as they play both Washington schools?
Well, in terms of the Washington games, I think that they have a very good chance of winning. Although, like we were talking to Charlie Turner-Thorne earlier, they don't have great records in the win-loss column, but they are 2 very gritty teams. They like to grind it out. But at that same time, ASU is that same way. And ASU is a team that can come out with a lot of firepower early. If they do that, I do think that they get both wins against the Washington schools this weekend. And once they do that, I do find them being ranked at the end of this weekend because they beat the 23, like we said earlier, California at that time, now 25. And when you look at who has the most amount of votes amongst unranked teams, it is ASU. So they also have the 37th ranked defense in the nation. I think with all those factors culminating, they will be ranked at the end of this weekend.
Andrew?
And I'm going to agree with that statement as well. This is definitely a top 25 team, Alex. The way they've played this season against the caliber of opponents that they have played against, it's a top 25 team. It's a lethal Pac-12 conference, and I think that loss on Stanford on Friday is really what did them in and pushed them out of the rankings. But you ask this team, I'm sure you ask them, and they think they're a top 25 team. They could care less about the rankings. They care about how they're playing right now and what they're going to do towards the end of the season. They're focused on the big picture, and so I think for them right now, the rankings don't really matter. And as for the games this weekend, I think against the Washington schools, they come away with 2 victories. But Charlie Turner-Thorne mentioned, both teams, Washington and Washington State, they've had their struggles in the Pac-12, but they've been in every game. They play competitive basketball with everyone in the whole conference, and this is a conference where if you take one game off or if you fall asleep for one game, teams will bite you, and it's one of the reasons why the Pac-12 is such a good league year in and year out.
Yeah, I actually asked Charlie Turner-Thorne about the Washington schools, and I said they only have 3 combined Pac-12 victories this season, but she raved for about 2 or 3 minutes about how good and how hard these teams play. In spite of that, though, I think ASU, like you said, they don't care where they are in the rankings. We think they're a top 25 team, and I think they get both victories this weekend versus the Washington schools. But for now, sending it back to you guys in the studio, Alex Gall, Andrew Bell, Mason Kern, Cronkite Sports.
Now, from the hardwood to the ice we go. The ASU women's club hockey program is nearing the end of its 2nd season in the desert. The season may not look great on paper, but this is a team that's headed in the right direction. For more on how this season has gone and a look ahead, we bring in WCSN's women's hockey expert, Liesl Babica. Liesl, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Andre.
Now, as I said, not the best year on paper, but how would you sum up this season for the Sun Devils?
Honestly, it's been a pretty successful season. Not bad at all. The past 3 weekends, they've been ranked, or they've been receiving votes in the ACHA top 15, which is huge for a second-year program. Absolutely huge. The past 5 games, though, however, they've only won 2 of those. Those came against GCU before the break, and those last 3 that they did lose was against Asconian Community College after break. However, they do have a good chance to pull out some wins this weekend against Denver, which 2 of those could come.
Now, you mentioned that Denver series. It is the last series of the weekend at Oceanside, so that means, of course, senior night for those players. What impact have those seniors had on this program?
They have had huge leadership on and off the ice, especially on the ice. For the past 2 seasons, the 4 seniors have led all the points for the whole entire team. This season, Casey McGinley leads in points with 20 this season, and Amber Gallus leads the team with 8 goals this season, which is absolutely huge. And so there's going to be a lot of emotion going into tonight's game and tomorrow night's game.
And now going into those games, you mentioned the emotions. Obviously, senior night brings a lot to that. So what do the Sun Devils need to do to pull out victories against Denver this weekend?
Like I mentioned before, they're both winnable games. Last season, ASU won their only 2 games against Denver at home last year. So they are able to win again this weekend. You mentioned emotions. They just need to keep those in check. And honestly, another part of it is they need to score those goals early. And when they do lose puck to Denver, they need to make sure their back checking is getting back and they're not allowing Denver to score, because otherwise that might create conflict.
Good stuff there, Liesl. As always, to check out hers and the rest of our women's hockey coverage team's work, check out cronkitesports.com.
ASU softball is almost back on the diamond, and there's definitely some excitement surrounding this team. Although 2 of their best players, Chelsea Gonzalez and Seychelle Palacios, are no longer on the team, ASU has maintained a lot of their core and brought in a great freshman class. They come into the season ranked number 23 in the country. Opening day will be the night of February 8th when they face off against Tennessee in Tempe.
ASU men's hockey took on Boston University over the past weekend, losing both games and dropping to 7-16-5 on the year. Despite losing the first game 8-0 and the second game by a score of 4-3, head coach Greg Powers still had a lot to say following the close loss to close out the weekend.
We battled toe-to-toe. We were really good. I thought we kind of sustained their quick knockout punch. We figured they'd come out like they did. They're fighting to get in. They're fighting to get in the tournament, and so we knew we were going to get their best effort. And our guys swung back. They swung back, and that's all we could ask. They emptied the tanks, and we're proud of them. We just fell short, but that's a good effort. That's a great effort by our guys, and that's how losses are supposed to feel. You know, they're supposed to hurt. They're supposed to hurt here. When you empty the tank and you leave it all out there like they did, it hurts. It hurts more. We have to play with a chip on our shoulder against a team. That team's exponentially more skilled than us. So we have to limit their skill by being physical and closing their time and space. And I think we did that pretty well tonight. And we just fell short. We were a good shift after goal tonight. And they scored at the end right as their power, right as it expired. They scored. The kill was excellent. I mean, we killed. We were really good. You know, to kill that effectively, I think it gave us momentum. I think it gave our guys energy. They were blocking shots, and they're really good. And the detail was back against a team that good and that skilled. That's a big step for our kill. They got back on track tonight. We just, like I said, they came out hard. I mean, the first period for them tonight was the best that they played all weekend. I mean, that was way better than what they played last night. I think that Coach Quinn would probably tell you the same. And we sustained. If the guys can play like that over the course of our last 6 games, we're gonna have a great last 6-game segment here of the season to build into the future with and go into next year on a really positive note.
Now, to put a little positive twist on this, 7-16-5 is certainly not too bad for an NCAA team still in its infancy who faced some of the behemoths of college hockey this season. So that's where the ASU men's hockey team sits as of right now with 6 games left in their season. They will be on the road for all 6. They are currently in Connecticut playing Yale right now and will play them again tomorrow. In 2 weekends, they'll take a trip to Michigan to face off with Michigan Tech, and then will return to Michigan the following weekend to finish their season against the Michigan Wolverines. Now, from one finishing their season to one who hasn't started yet, ASU is both literally and figuratively ready to get the ball rolling. For more, here's Carly Mathias.
A lot can change in a single year, and for Arizona State baseball, that rings truer than ever heading into the 2018 season. Coming off a brutal 2017 campaign that saw the team post its highest season ERA since 2008, head coach Tracy Smith had to find a leader for his young but talented pitching staff. After parting ways with former pitching coach Brandon Higglin weeks before last season and assuming pitching duties himself, Smith turned to the professional ranks to right the ship for 2018. His search led him to Mike Cather, who has spent the last decade plus in the minor leagues as a pitching coach for 4 different organizations. The team has yet to play a game with Cather on board, but Smith could not be more optimistic heading towards February 16th.
I think he relates really well to the kids. He's able to give them the time and dedication that they need and quite frankly deserve at a place like Arizona State. So I know he's excited to be here and he's excited to get his product out there and put his stamp on it. But I would say up to this point, it's been a really good working relationship between player and pitching coach.
While ASU boasts a plethora of young arms such as freshman Boyd Vanderkoy and sophomore Spencer Van Scoy, one veteran that will be leaned on heavily in 2018 is senior lefty Eli Lingos. Coming off a season in which he posted a 4.21 ERA and was hit at a .303 clip, Lingos sees plenty of room for improvement in himself with Cather as his mentor.
I was able to throw strikes last year, but a lot of times they weren't quality strikes, and so he's just been focused on pounding the bottom of the zone. He just got a big focus on doing what he's got to do to get us to that next level and just kind of the attitude and way we need to carry ourselves to get there.
If fall practices and votes of confidence are anything to go by, Cather should settle in nicely to his new surroundings. But the biggest tests are still to come for a pitching staff filled with potential. Reputations are harder to change the longer they stand, but for Cather, his goal is to change the reputation of Arizona State baseball one bullpen session at a time.
Our goal is to change the mindset of what ASU baseball is. It's always been known as a very offensive university. A lot of batters come out of here. I want to change that. I want people to look at ASU and think about the pitching staff as well as the hitting and the defense that we have.
From Phoenix Municipal Stadium, I'm Carly Mathias, Cronkite Sports.
Now, ASU athletics is in a transition of seasons right now, but you know what takes no days off?
Social media.
Social media. And for that, we have social media guru Jenna Dietz. Jenna, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me today. So we're going to start off today with the Hot Pepper Challenge by Charlie Turner Thorne.
Love it.
All right, Bobby. I've accepted your Hot Pepper Challenge. I'm here with my amazing scout team today. Yeah! We're going to get this done. I do not care for hot food. Cinnamon gummies. I'm calling out Coach Bob Bowman and Michael Phelps. Half court of our game, Hot Pepper Challenge, and 942 students. I'm buying the peppers. You're taking the challenge. Go Devils.
I don't really want to take anything away from Turner Thorne there, but is that kind of cheating to drink water after?
Yeah.
Is that against the rules?
I thought about that too, but credit to her though, because she's one of the only coaches that I've seen actually eating a pepper with some spice.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I'm pretty sure Herm Edwards, I'm pretty sure, ate a bell pepper, and all credit to her. Great coach. I'm sure he's a great guy, but
Step up your game, man.
Gotta step the game up. I'm waiting on Bob Bowman and Michael Phelps to both take a chomp out of a habanero
I'm
pepper.
waiting for the 942 crew.
Exactly. They should all do ghost peppers. All do
Absolutely.
ghost peppers. It's a requirement.
Yeah, no water.
No water.
No water,
Absolutely
no milk,
water.
nothing.
All right, next we have the lacrosse team in their inaugural season. Maura Cecil, number 17 on the lacrosse team, with the no-look shot, but I like the celebration a little bit more.
Oh, shimmy. My God. No look. If I did that, that would have gone over that fence and went into that school right there. Would have hurt a kid. That wouldn't have been good.
You could have given me a lacrosse stick, a lacrosse ball, and a goal, and straight on, and I'd probably still miss if I wasn't looking. So
Exactly.
that's just impressive. I might be able to match the celebration level, though.
Yeah, loving the shimmy. Loving the shimmy.
Yeah, and for our last piece here, we have Teddy Cahill. You guys have seen the Nick Saban Cupid Shuffle, though, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have. When he was in there, yeah.
Yeah, so he had a little list of the coaches that he would like to see do the Cupid Shuffle. Tracy Smith was number 3. He thinks that he should have been a little bit higher, and I think so too.
Bump him up. Come on. I mean, this guy's the king. He would kill that.
At this point, I'm convinced Tracy Smith can do anything. He roasts his players on Twitter. I'm convinced he can probably dance at this point. I would love to see him do that, but Tracy Smith, king of all things social media. Jenna Dietz, queen of all things social media. Thank you so much. Making her debut. Good stuff,
Thank you so much
Jenna.
for having me.
And now, social media we mentioned doesn't take a day off.
Certainly not.
Neither does Joe Lenardi, the bracketology guru. And our Tyler Mandian spoke to him in this week's Impact segment.
Thanks, guys. It's obvious that ASU has struggled in Pac-12 play, but so has everybody else. Currently, there are just 2 games separating 8 teams in the standings, which makes every single game truly matter. With ASU's loss to Washington Thursday night, the Sun Devils dropped to 4-6 in conference and 16-6 overall. As for what this all means come March, well, as of right now, ESPN's Joe Lenardi predicts that the Pac-12 will only have 3 teams in the tournament, which would be the lowest total since 2012. As for the Sun Devils, their tournament hopes have fallen quite a bit since December. In my conversation with Lenardi this week, he told me, quote, "I don't know if I've ever seen, in a month, this kind of drop. But don't worry too much, Sun Devil fans. The ESPN expert went on to tell me that he projects ASU to be a 6 or 7 seed come Selection Sunday. Unless the squad completely falls apart, the wins over current 1 seed Kansas and number 6 overall Xavier should carry ASU into March." Spencer and Andre, back to you.
So, thank you very much for that, Tyler. Now we get into the way it is, the way it works. We have 3 questions, and we will both give a little answer, maybe a little arguing, and we'll see who wins. The producers will pick that. The winner gets to rant.
Absolutely.
All right, so question number 1. What did you think of ASU's performance last night against Washington?
I think this is a team that has completely lost its identity.
Absolutely.
When you see a team that's live or die by the 3 and the 3s stop falling, that can really cause a crisis for this team. And I think that's what this ASU team is going through right now.
It's really, basketball is my favorite sport. I love watching it. That was not a good display of basketball last night. Certainly hard to watch for anyone, any fan of any team.
Yeah. Another thing that was hard to watch last year for a lot of ASU faithful was the ASU baseball season. Definitely a down year for Tracy Smith and company. So, simple question, do they bounce back?
I think they do. They got Drew Smith, the freshman, coming in at shortstop. Alika Williams coming in at second base. And I think those guys will be big on defense for them to kind of help the pitchers out.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to banter on this and go back and forth, but I'd have to agree with you. Tracy Smith is finally getting his guys in Tempe, and I think that's huge for any program at any school. So they've cleared away some of the transitional people, and now it's full steam ahead with Tracy Smith and company. I think they'll bounce back just fine.
Exactly. Now for the fun question, we just saw Charlie Turner-Thorne do the Hot Pepper Challenge. Now, if you had to pick a coach that hasn't done it yet to do the Hot Pepper Challenge, who would you pick?
Oh, it's got to be Graham Winkworth, ASU women's soccer coach. He's British. British people aren't necessarily known for their spice. I would love to see him take a chomp out of a spice pepper and just hear his reaction with a British accent.
Yeah, I don't think they have peppers in Britain. That could be the one problem. I would pick Bobby Hurley. He's already done it. I just want to see his face get more red than it already does.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick Greg Powers. I think Greg Powers is a pretty funny guy. I think he'd have a pretty funny reaction to that.
Absolutely.
So Greg, I'm counting on you. I want to see
Graham,
it.
I hope you see this.
All right, now the producers will pick the winner.
See his baby picture's gonna pop up.
I hope it's mine.
Honestly,
mine. I got the little. Oh, it's gonna be you. No baby pictures.
It's too bad because
tune in next time.
Tune in next time for my baby picture because it is entertaining. I must say, I really don't have an elbow. It's kind of weird, but nonetheless, Remember when everyone was ready to call this a down year for ASU athletics? I certainly do. So much of the Tempe faithful were up in arms after a disappointing football season and the firing of Todd Graham with very little optimism for the rest of the year. Now look where we are. The Gym Devils, as I mentioned, are number 12. Men's basketball has been as high as 3. The women's team are always competitive. Wrestling is number 8. And even track and field is returning an NCAA record holder. My point is this. Yes, football brings in the money and attracts all the fans, but before everyone writes off all the athletes at this school, take a closer look. You'll find a whole lot of top-to-bottom success, and that's the way it is.
Very well said, Andre. It's been a good year for ASU sports. Now let's get into top plays. ASU men's basketball. The second half against Colorado on Saturday. Now, first half, they had no threes. Is that good?
Not bad.
I don't think so.
No.
They made 10 in the second half, however. Absolutely roasting the Buffs. And they won by 14 over Colorado. You can see Shannon Evans just going off. When this guy gets hot, when these three get hot, Shannon Evans, Trey Holder, Cody Justice, they are a really tough unit to stop, and you saw it right there.
Loving the bench reactions there as well. That number 2, ASU Gymnastics freshman Cairo Leonard Baker. How's this for a resume? Number one all-around freshman in the country. 3-time reigning freshman of the week. Career high 9.95 on the bars. We're seeing that right here. The highest ASU score of any gymnast this season. And you know, the producers in the truck, we're going to see it right here. They told me that this is called a full-in dismount.
Looks
Bang!
like it.
Sticks it right there. That's impressive. If I did that, well, I'd probably break my neck.
If I had to make a list of impossible things, I think that would be up there. But a close second would be what James Harden did this past week. James Harden, now, we know this isn't ASU sports, but guess what? He's an alumni of ASU. Listen to this stat line. 60 points, 66% shooting, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, 4 steals. Kids, you know why you shoot free throws? Because he was 17 of 18 from the stripe. This guy, first 60-point triple-double in NBA history. Watching him play is really just a treat to see. And I think we talked about this earlier. I think we both agree he has been MVP this year. How do you make that shot?
Absolutely got to be the MVP.
How do you make that shot? He is just, the way he plays is so smooth, so incredible. And guess what? He learned it all from ASU, so.
Showing out for the lefties out there in the world.
Showing out for the lefties,
Only 12%,
exactly.
but we can do some pretty great things. But that's going to be it for this show. Not bad. I had a lot of fun. It's too bad you won't be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
But Braden and Jack will be back with you next week. That's Spencer Hardenbergh. My name is Andre Sims. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check out cronkitesports.com for all of our great coverage. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.